It's green for go. They're racing. He says go. He says ta-da. And Tiger Tara rolls away from them on the home turn. Here comes another big boil over. Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more. This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode. She is a star with a capital S. It's going to be a triple treat. A miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that? It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Good morning and welcome to episode 3 of the Sprint Lane. Paul Cochran joining you this week once again with Jess Watkins, Freddie Hastings and our special guest on the show, Steph Morris. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How's your week been, Jess?
Yeah, it's been pretty good as a Parramatta supporter.
Yeah, I was going to say,
top of the world.
Parramatta supporter glow, Freddie. She's going to be insufferable for the next half hour or so, isn't she?
I figured that I was born in Parramatta Hospital way back when, so I'm going to go for Parramatta as well.
I'm going to have to go against you guys. Riley, my son, is
Thanks for being on the show, Steve.
he's a Panther supporter, so we'll be cheering them home.
So is that how it works? If your son wants in on one team, you have to stick with it too, do you?
Yeah, I feel like
kids have got some power these days, don't they, Freddie?
I know, it wasn't like that when I was growing up. But anyway, can I come and live at your place?
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about the power, what the kids have in your household, because you've got a really, really prominent role with the Mini-Trotters, particularly here around this area at Menangle. And we want to pour some time into that later, Steph, because you're doing great work there. And that is the future of our sport, isn't it, Jess?
It is. It definitely is. And the Mini-Trots provide such a good stepping stone to then come into the senior driving ranks as they get a bit older, and helps to provide that foundation horsemanship skills, which is fantastic for the young ones.
And we had them out here, Freddie, a couple of weeks ago. They were doing a shoot for Sydney Weekender. Gee, it was good to see. And you were out here, Steph. You had your little munchkins out here. It was so good to see the smiles, but gee, the cameras didn't faze them either. They were pretty savvy in front of the lens.
I think they're used to it now because their races are filmed every time they race pretty much, and there are some real stars in the making. And obviously, Steph, by the time they get to drive the big horses, they're going to be very adept at being in front of a camera doing interviews.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. The earlier you can get them used to it, the better they are. We've had a lot of drivers, such as Cameron Hart, come through the Mini-Trot ranks, and just goes to show what starting off young and learning everything there is to know early on can do.
You talk about Cameron Hart. You're a late bloomer to the sport. You came in quite late. You didn't go through the Mini-Trots program yourself. Imagine how good she would have been if she'd have gone through the Mini-Trots program.
She's good now. Imagine,
She's very talented.
I know. And Jess, grand final tickets, you've locked them in. You went the early crow, didn't you?
I did go the early crow, and I got them the week before. I didn't tell Dad, though, because I don't think he'd be too keen on that at all. But, yeah, I'll be there on Sunday ready to cheer them on.
All right, well,
I'm washing my hair.
We seem to say this every week. We are a racing podcast. We've got plenty of racing to get through. We've actually got a big day today, so we're going to start having a look at what that looks like, starting with what we've got at Menangle today. So we talk about Menangle today, but what I'm going to start with, though, Freddie, is when I walked out of this studio last Tuesday, I went straight out on the track and watched a couple of races, and then I heard you calling $173 winner, consider it done for Graham Watt. So I had to get out there with the phone camera and get a little snippet from the great man, because that was some performance.
Well, it was certainly left field, 173 on the tote. It started at 100-1, but in the Gold Sovereign final the other night, it came out and ran fourth and hit the line as well as anything. So writing was put on the wall. Good luck to Graham and the team there. A surprise win, and as I would often say, the biggest boil over since Polly put the kettle on.
I expected to see a bit more shock and hear a bit more shock from Graham after that result, but he seemed like,
did what I expected. He was very nonchalant about it, I thought. He was pretty, I guess, had some expectation the horse had run well and didn't let him down.
Oh, $173.
Why weren't we on?
Fantastic. You mentioned the Gold Sovereign, Freddie. Obviously, we had heats last Tuesday. It led to the final on Saturday night. Look, we saw, and we've already mentioned this man's name, Cameron Hart, already, and why not? 5 winners on that program on Saturday night. He was at the peak of his powers.
And a nose from driving 6. Yeah. Stingray Tara got beat a nose in the fast class race. So he's just at the top of his game right now and just seems to be controlling, whether he's back in the field, up front, he's just got got it all on a string at the moment, but he went within a nose, and it was a very close finish, that one, of making it 6. Incredible. He was certainly one of the best things I've seen this week. The juggernaut rolls on for Cam.
Steph, as I mentioned, you're quite late to the sport, so I'd imagine you're a bit of a sponge. You kind of take in what other people are doing. Is he one that you have a look at and think, all right, this is how you do this? I mean, obviously you've got your own way of working out how to drive, but is he one that you take notice of and think, what's he do that makes him so good?
Yeah, definitely. All of the top drivers, there's plenty of them, and I try to take a little bit from each of them, but like you said, everybody drives a bit differently, and Cam Hart's a great driver, and he's getting the best horses that we have at the moment, and it's really helping his career, and all the best to him.
Freddie, I'm going to come back to you because as a race caller, this must have been really frustrating. My Ultimate Ronnie had some troubles at the start of the 3-year-old Gold Sovereign final. It seemed to take forever to get that one started. We were about 10 minutes delayed on that race. Must be frustrating as a caller, but from a My Ultimate Ronnie perspective, probably was worth the wait.
Oh, absolutely. Look, as a caller, you've just got to make sure, because you have a long delay like that, you've got the colours locked away in your memory, and I think we had a horse cast a plate, needed some farrier work, so there was that delay, and you just use that time when you're not on air, you just keep looking at the horses through the 1050s, make sure you've got the names locked in, because you can, you can forget. You saw them when they were warming up and you've got them locked away, and then all of a sudden there's a 10-minute delay. You just got to keep on top and make sure they're still in the memory, and fortunately they were, and fortunately for backers of My Ultimate Ronnie, we've talked about him before, guys. What a class animal he is. Not much between through their 2-year-old season, Byron and Ronnie, but I think Ronnie's really stamping himself. Whilst we haven't seen Byron yet, and he's on the comeback soon, Ronnie's just a really class horse.
I spent some time with Jared yesterday up at the stable here at the training centre at Menangle, and we talked about this amazing fleet of 2, 3, 4-year-olds that he's got and he's had over that last 18 months that have done so well through these age series events. And he talked about Byron and Ronnie, and that was a big discussion last year. Which one's going to come back the better 3-year-old? He's convinced Ronnie is the better horse. And he puts a lot of it down to the mannerisms and the demeanour of them. So it was a fascinating race. Jess, Mahomes was really good. And, I mean, Muscle Bart was prominent in that as well. It was a good race, wasn't it?
It was a very good race. And, yeah, you just touched on Mahomes there. I thought he hit the line really strongly. And Muscle Bart as well. Of course, they both came out of the same heat on the Tuesday and they finished in the minor placings there. So very good performances from those 2 runners.
Steph, Jared's got Madrid as well, and this is a star 3-year-old filly that we've got on our hands, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I know some of the owners quite well, and they just can't believe their luck, snatching up Madrid.
Yeah. How good can Madrid be, do you think, Freddie? Like, can we see Madrid really progress to be one of the legends of our sport, potentially coming out of those age series?
Look, it's always hard for a horse to transition from an age, I guess, for want of a better term, an age champion, a juvenile champion, into a free for all and into the ranks of those Grand Circuit horses. Look, never say never. She needs to show what she can do when she starts taking on the horses at 4, looking at Ladyship Miles and races like that. We've seen, Antonia's been good, and she's on the way back now with David Thorne, and she'll obviously be targeting those such races, such as the Ladyship Mile and some of those good mares races. But yeah, look, Madrid, we know how classy she is, but it's still a big step from a juvenile champion into those more senior ranks.
Yeah. Speaking of impressive, Braveview Kelly was good, Fred.
Oh, look, I said in the call she's top shelf, and I've got no doubt. What she's done has been incredible. I want to give Jack Trainer a rap. Now, he trained 4 winners on the card on Saturday. He's a bit of a fillies and mare whisperer. He must have the knack, because we saw what he did with Stylish Memphis when she's come over the ditch and he's had her. Braveview Kelly, BK Swai, he drove Antonia. He had an affinity with Antonia, which we just mentioned. But this Braveview Kelly, this mare, she is going to really transition into a top class mare. She's got tactical speed. She's got stamina. I'm really enamoured with her. I think she is really going to be one of the top race mares as we get into the carnival.
One of the best races we saw there on Saturday night was saw Wee Been Boppin' emerge. Steph, I know you've got a bit of an affinity with this horse.
Yeah, I really love watching that horse go around. I don't know what it is about him. I first took notice of him back when Shane Sanderson got him, and I think he won first up with Cameron Hart back in 2020 here at Menangle, and I've just followed him ever since.
Got a decent price for Wee Been Boppin' on Saturday night too, Jess. That was a really, really gallant game performance, but Stingray Tara, as Freddie said, almost had Cam a sixth winner, absolutely flying home.
Yeah, Stingray Tara went super in that race, and I think that was actually your black booker last week, so I hope you didn't put the mock on it there.
Thanks. Connections will be chasing you. Sorry, Jack. But yeah. And on Where You've Been Bopping, Jess, that's 3 straight Group 3 races.
That's right. Pretty impressive. And, of course, he claimed the golden ticket as well, winning that event on Saturday, so he's through to the Inter. But I think Malcolm's Rhythm as well, he flew home. I think he went the quickest final sectional split in that race, so he's definitely one to keep an eye out for in the coming weeks.
Absolutely, yeah. That was a real eye-catcher from Malcolm's Rhythm. We talked about Cam and getting those 5 winners. The 5th of them was Regal Attire in the last. Might be a pretty handy trotter that Jared and Cam are teaming up with here, Fred?
Absolutely. Did everything right. It's got some high speed at the back end of its races. And just on Jared, we've touched on Jared with Madrid and my ultimate Ronnie. Regal Attire gave him 3 winners. So it was a night where there were just multiple winners. Jack Trainer trained 4, Jared trained 3, Cam drove 5, and Jack Callaghan had a double as well. So plenty of multiple wins for the boys during the course of last Saturday.
And on a night like that, we also had a debut win of sorts. This young lady is getting plenty of winners all over the place, but this was her first at headquarters here at Tabcorp Park Menangle. Well done, Grace Pinella. She is a star on the rise and a lovely young lady to boot, Steph. Yeah,
she absolutely is. She's just flying at the moment up in the Hunter area, and she would have been rapt getting that win for Darren. Her and Darren are family, and it would have meant the world to her to get that for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw her represent New South Wales recently at the Australian Drivers' Championships as well, Jess. Really good. I think that's the start of what's going to be many, many winners here at headquarters.
Absolutely, and she's another driver that come through that mini trotting ranks and got her foundation there. I think one of her first ponies was Dust Storm, and then, of course, she went on with her next pony. I think that was Velvet's Little Star to win the Inter-Dominion down there in Victoria. So, no doubt, big things to come for Grace.
We talk about... I was
just going to say, the mail I got too was she drove that horse. Tuppence was the name of the horse for Darren. Peg Pocket got out, middle split. She drove it to precise instruction. Darren gave her precise instruction, and she carried out the drive to the letter of his instruction, and the end result was Tuppence won. So I guess it was party time, smiles all around.
That's all you can ask for, isn't it? If you're the trainer of a horse, that you put someone on and you say, well,
especially
the instructions, do what you're told.
Darren's not shy on giving an instruction.
You've been told, have you?
I've been on the end of the instruction list, yes.
But if we mention Grace, we've already talked about Cam Hart. The first 4 winners there on Saturday: Jack Brown, Grace Pinella, Jack Callaghan, Cameron Hart. Tell me that's not an advertisement for the future of our sport right there. 4 in a row, 4 really, really bright, shiny stars. I mean, the reputation of Jack Callaghan and Cameron Hart just continues to grow as 2 of the elites, not only in the country, probably in the world, when it comes to steering a horse around a track. So we're in pretty good hands, aren't we, Steph?
Absolutely. The younger drivers are still coming through, and it's really a great initiative to the young kids in the Mini-Trots. They love coming and seeing the older but younger drivers, getting such success.
Can't help but be impressed by Jack Brown too. Jess, he's
doing great things at the moment, and of course he works for Jack Trainer, and they've really built a great combination in the past few months, and I think we'll continue to see Jack Brown develop, and he'll be could be one of the top drivers here at Menangle.
Well, another young name that we saw this young man win an Inter-Dominion only less than 12 months ago, Josh Gallagher. He had a treble at Newcastle on Friday, so Joshy always keeps popping up and delivering winners for whoever he's driving for. He does a lot of work there for the Lucky Lodge team, obviously. There was other people that sort of had some milestones during the week. Darren Grant, he had his first winner for the year at Newcastle yesterday on Miss Trocadero. I took notice of one that Jack Callaghan was on, second last on the program there at Newcastle. Come Say Hi. This was one for the McCarthys. Come Say Hi's got a great story because this is we know the story of Tough Tilly down in Victoria that's raised a lot of money for a great cause there, and Come Say Hi has got the same philanthropic endeavours. I'm not sure if you guys know this. Come Say Hi is actually named after there's an Eddie Vedder song called When I See Eli, Come and Say Hi that was on the radio a fair bit last year. I actually spoke to Craig Judd about this because his daughter's gone through a health condition, and this was all part of the fundraising. So Eddie Vedder's wife, who's the lead singer of Pearl Jam, the great band, his wife is the ambassador for this cause. And Eddie Vedder wrote a song, and therefore this horse was named after that song. So a lot of the money that it brings in all goes to this fundraising campaign. So it's a great result there. Just held on, just beat one of the great names in racing, Beers in My Pocket, Jess.
Yeah, a great name. I think most of you guys would like a beer in your pocket.
Blue home, not when I'm working. Absolutely.
Wait till the last at least.
Look, Stuart Richards, he's been around the traps a fair bit. He had just his second win of the year at Leeton on Tuesday night on Utrish. Peter McRae and Trevor White, we've mentioned those two boys earlier in the podcast in previous episodes. They just keep delivering the business down there in the Riverina. They had a treble on the night there at the Riverina venue. Gracie Taltoa, they also combined for a winner with Gracie Taltoa at Wagga on Friday as well. So they're doing great things. Peter and Trevor, of course, as we mentioned, won the state final of the regional championships earlier this year. Nathan and Russell Juck, big winner with Erupt Stride. Erupt Stride was a winner of the Gold Crown Consolation earlier in the year at Bathurst. So doing good things there. Big win on his return to Wagga. Desmond, winner for Terry Powder and Blake Micallef. Who's your favourite Desmond, Freddie?
Haynes.
Oh, you took mine.
Oh, sorry.
Jess, Steph, you got a...
No, I don't have a favourite
Desmond Tutu. You haven't got a favourite Desmond?
No.
What about Desmond of Neighbours? He was a...
What about Desmond and Molly Jones from the Beatles classic, Oobla Dee Oobla Da?
You took mine, though.
These two wouldn't know what I'm talking about.
Egger was Desmond.
Too old.
Yeah. Hey, I want to give a mention to Olivia Frisbee. She had a win on Terry Armour during the week. Of course, Terry Armour was the inaugural Western Region final winner from back in 2020. I failed to mention Olivia last week. She won the feature race at the Cowra Carnival of Cups. So my apologies for missing that one out last week, Olivia. I did catch up with her briefly while I was on course there at Cowra. Seaton Grimer, another young driver that's doing great things, had a driving double through the middle of the program at Penrith. And Yagara is one of those venues that is a destination venue for a lot of people on the harness racing circuit because they do such a great job there. They had their first of two weekends of race meetings on Sunday. They had a great little crowd there. I would expect that is going to amplify considerably this weekend because they've got the time-honoured Canola Cup for their Carnival of Cups meeting. They had heats to lead up to that. The Turnbulls did well, of course, with Amanda and Steve teaming up. I think Pastor Cheval, Freddie might be a bit hard to beat in that one.
Yeah, it looks as though it's going to be the one to toss, but they always get you're just talking about the crowd there. The Cup Day crowd is just phenomenal, and they do so much work there, as do a lot of our country clubs. But this is special for Yagara because they haven't been able to run this race over the past couple of seasons. So this will be a big one on Monday coming.
I'll tell you what, though, they get rewarded for the work that they put in. I mean, I was driving home from work last night, and Jody Greenhouse from their club gives me a call and says, "I've got this idea." We're only 6 days out from this race meeting, and Jodie's already trying to value add. She's coming up with new ideas. She just wants to make it bigger and better than it's ever been before, and that's the pride she takes in this race meeting, thinking about the local crowd. But this is a race meet that attracts people from everywhere. They come in just to be part of, because they know that Jodie puts on a great show. So, hey, we've mentioned Splash of Crimson for Amanda Turnbull a couple of times already on this show, but it won again at Ugara. It looks pretty handy, Fred.
Looking forward to it coming to the Big Smoke, Paul. what it's been doing. Can't do any more than it has been doing, but I look forward to seeing it racing around the big track here.
Should be fantastic. Look, last week we had a really, really deep and I think valuable discussion around what Harness Racing New South Wales is trying to do around cognitive testing, and we talked through the reason why it's happening, and it's that baseline testing to make sure that our concussion protocols are in play. We don't intend to pour too much more sort of deep analysis into it, but Steph, you've enrolled for your baseline test.
Yeah, so Dave tells me. I left it up to Dave to book us in. But yeah, I think it's really important. If we do have a fall, we always try not to, but if we do have a fall and it's not that serious, you like to finish the meeting off. Yeah,
because at the moment, as we talked about last week, at the moment, it's if you have a fall, you have a knock, you're out of the rest of the race meeting. So what this baseline testing is going to enable stewards and medicos on site to be able to make that assessment on what your cognitive response looks like compared to what that baseline test is. How are you feeling about it all?
No, pretty good. I just don't really know what to expect. So I'm glad that they've shown the initiative to get this rolling. But I don't know what I'm meant to prepare for and not prepare for. So.
Yeah. Freddie, the response out of that conversation was quite good. I know that people feel like they've got a bit more of a better understanding based on the conversation that we had on the show last week.
I think the more you discuss something like this and get the message out there, the more comfortable people are going to become. Glenn was our guest last week, Glenn McElhenney. He had his say, and he agreed with the notion behind creating a baseline so that in the event, and as Steph said, unfortunately it's an aspect of racing, we never want to see it, but it does happen from time to time. There's a race fall. We want the drivers to be able to continue, especially on those big, well, it doesn't really matter whether it's a big night or not, any night. We want the drivers to be out there doing their best and competing. At least with the baseline in place, there's then that capacity to then assess after a fall where their cognitive thinking is at, and then a decision can be made, an informed and educated decision based on actual data. And I think that's the important thing, that message has got out there. As Steph said, she and David, her husband, are going to be, David's done. You leave all the hard work to David? He has to do all the work?
I leave him one job a day.
Oh, one job a day. Is that because he's a guy and we can't do more than one thing at once? Anyway,
I'll leave that up for a debate.
Okay, but I think that's the important thing, that the drivers are now getting behind it, Paul, and I think they'll realise, as many that have done it will realise, there's no smoke and mirrors, nothing tricky behind it. It's just a test to assess your cognitive thinking in a clear and reasonable state, to then marry it up against the hopeful non-event of a fall. Yeah.
So the key message is register. Morris Logue is the man that is engineering and steering all of this. It's really important that you do the registration, get in, book the spot, because Morris is moving around the state and having those one-on-one sessions with drivers all around the state. So please do go to the effort like David Morris did on behalf of his wife.
Brownie points. Does he cook dinner as well?
Yeah.
No.
Just register. Send that email in, make the booking, and let's not hold up any of those license registration process, which is coming up in the new year. Okay, best thing that you saw this week, Steph?
Oh, best thing I saw this week? Hopefully it was Dave registering for the cognitive test. Best thing I saw this week would probably have to be Cam Hart's multiple winners on Saturday night. My son Riley, I've mentioned him already, but he loves following Cameron, so that was great to see.
It's pretty impressive. Freddie?
On a similar vein, the dominance of the young guns. We talked about Grace driving her first Metro, Cam with his 5. Jack drove a double, Jack Trainer with his 4 wins. So there's so much going on. You touched on Seaton Grimer at Penrith. Bryson, his brother, had a winner. There's just so many good things happening in the sport at the moment with these young drivers. We seem to touch on them every week, and
with good reason.
With good reason, because they're achieving goals.
Yeah, Jess?
And for me, I'm going to touch on the breeding side here. The winner, Consider It Done, last week, and then she backed up in the APG Gold Sovereign final. Her mum, especially Maid Lombo, actually won the APG as a 2 and 3-year-old. And her mum's actually a full sister to champion mare Taylor Maid Lombo. So there's one for the breeding buffs out there.
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be plenty of them out there, and breeding is such an important part of the industry. We actually talked about that a little bit with John Dumacy yesterday ahead of some work that we're doing around the Breeders' Challenge. For me, it was probably that wide camera shot at Ugara and seeing people on the fence line. And it was just one of their regular race meetings on Sunday. Seeing people there and seeing the energy in the crowd. I'm going to be there to try and take a look at that and help the club out. For their Carnival of Cups meeting. I can't wait to see what the crowd response is going to be like, because it's one of the real stake in the ground calendar dates that we always look forward to. And Ugara, as we said before, haven't been able to put on their Carnival of Cups meeting for a couple of years because of the health pandemic and a flood. So really looking forward to that. All right, Steph, it's fantastic to have you on the show with us. I want to start. We talked a little bit about the Mini-Trotters, but what is your role with Mini-Trotters here at Menangle?
So I just got thrown straight in the deep end from the beginning. I took over president role here. So I take care of everything from nominations to membership sign up to running the meetings, making sure all the kids know what they're doing, signing off on, the kids, making sure that they know what they're doing out there and it's safe.
Helping the race caller know who's racing.
Trying to make sure Fred knows who's here.
That is a big job, Fred.
Thank you. Oh, for Steph. That was, I thought you were clapping me. No,
it's definitely a big job for Fred. He already has to remember 10 races.
Applause for Steph.
So, I mean, Steph, parents are constantly rolling up their sleeves on behalf of their kids to be able to take on these admin roles. I imagine it's not necessarily something that you're doing out of sufferance because you're such a great mum to your kids and that, but you love the sport as well. So it's ticking the two great loves in your life, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Anything I can do to help promote the sport. We've just recently been doing a few film days with the kids and the Mini-Trots, and I know the Mini-Trots generate a lot of curiosity from the general public. They love coming out market night and seeing the minis race. So, yeah, I do enjoy it. It does take up a bit of my time, but like you said, I do it for the sport, but also for my kids.
Yeah. How did you come to be part of harness racing?
Through my great husband. I met Dave. I already knew, I was a rider. I used to show horses and that, and I met Dave, and obviously he was a harness racer. I did try it. I tried jogging one once, and I jogged it in shorts, and the track hit me straight in the back of the legs, and I said, I'm never doing that. No way. And I think maybe 2 months of gearing up horses and picking up horse poo, I said, I'll give it another go because I got sick of gearing horses up. And yeah, I just fell in love with it.
You've assembled a pretty good record. And I've noted this before. You seem to, whenever you're on something that wins, it's always got a pretty big price attached to it. You're a bit of a punter's pal when it comes to that.
Yeah, look, I don't usually drive the horses that are, the favourite or even going that well, but I just always try to drive the horse how the horse can best be placed in the race. Whether that's just punching the fence, and I just hope for a lot of luck most of the time, and yeah, they've usually got the big price tag when they get up.
And you've come to build a great combination with Leon Jerd. I think you work for him as well in the mornings. How did that combination come about?
Yeah, I just kind of forced myself in there. I've been with Leon for probably about 5 or 6 years now, and I work there in the morning. He's got a good little team. He just needed a claim driver when I first got my license, and he put me on Dusty Delight. It was 80-1 when it got up that day, so yeah, big odds.
Point taken.
And yeah, I just kind of threw myself into his. I was already working in the stable that he took over, and when the last trainer left, I just stayed. So I kind of just come with the barn.
Steph, a couple of those lady driver invitational races that we've run here at Menangle, you've been to the 4 in those as well. Does that give you a great deal of satisfaction lining up? I mean, obviously we know how competitive you are. You're a very competitive miss, but I mean, when you're taking on some of these other big names and your counterparts, and you're coming out on top, that must give you a great deal of satisfaction.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like I said before, there's a lot of great drivers out there, and especially the ladies. I love, like Carrie Ann and Amanda Turnbull. I love taking, advice from them, and I've been really fortunate. I said I don't usually drive favourites, but I drove a couple of favourites in those ladies' races and got them up. I think I won 2 in a row.
2, I think, yeah.
Yeah, one for Amanda and one for Fitzpatrick's. But both just quality horses. It was great, yeah.
It's changed your life, this sport, hasn't it? Because like you said, you met David and literally it's steered the rest of your life, hasn't it? This harness racing industry.
Yeah, well, that's right. Harness racing, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. But yeah, I love it.
I mean, I know that everyone I seem to speak to says, oh yeah, we were at Dave and Steph's wedding and it's all harness racing people.
Yeah, it was a pretty big wedding, and we probably could have had more people there, but obviously price comes into a factor, so I had to put the limit somewhere. But yeah, it was a great day, and most of harness racing was there. Yeah.
So that was back in March, wasn't it?
February.
February, yep. Because I remember we were at the Miracle Mile draw. And I'm standing next to you up. I'm lining up for a lemonade. You're lining up for something a bit stronger because you just got married. But you drop it into the. Oh yeah, I just got married yesterday.
What? Yeah. They were going to have that on our wedding night, and they realised that no one was going to be in attendance because they'd be at our wedding. So they pushed it a night, and I told them I'd go to it just because they pushed it.
Well, we were live broadcasting that night. That could have been, weddings seem to be reality TV all the time.
Like a reality TV.
Yeah.
Harness racing the wedding.
Should have just done it at the wedding.
Harness driver wants to be married.
Would have saved you a few bucks.
Oh, I should have thought faster.
Yeah. Hey, it's great to have you on the show. I mean, you're doing so many great things. But particularly, I love what you're doing around the mini-trotters. That is the future of our sport. We've talked about it so much that the guns of our sport right now are the ones who've graduated out of those programs.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I've got to ask, my favourite harness racing photo anywhere, and I'm pretty sure I think it was Ashley Brennan might have taken the photo. And it encapsulates what goes on out there on the track. You and your husband David had driven in a race. I don't think you were married when that photo was taken. You were engaged, but you'd driven in a race together. I think it was close to being the last race of a Tuesday. The sun was setting, and you were leaving the track together, and you were actually holding hands. The horses were side by side, the gig side by side. You were holding hands and sort of looking at each other. And I saw that photo on social media, and this is the best photograph I've ever seen. Not only because it really captured the moment with young love leaving the track, but the fact 2 minutes earlier they're going hell for leather against each other, doing their best for their connections, their horses. And Steph, here you are leaving the track holding David's hand. I still think, and it's more a favourite of mine, that photo, than even Heaven on High winning here a couple of weeks ago. That photo is magnificent. When you saw it, what did you make of it? What did you think when you saw it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful photo. Dave and I, if there's anyone out in the track I want to beat, it's Dave. So don't let the photo fool you. We're definitely competitive on the track.
Absolutely.
We're wearing our Mates for Harness colours, so we're trying to promote, like friendship and all that sort of stuff for harness racing, which is a great cause. I was proud to get chosen to help promote that. From memory, I think it was a claim race. I was driving Controversial and Dave was driving one of Leon's horses. So veterans of the pace, so they were quite calm just to walk next to each other. They didn't mind. From memory, so don't quote me, but I think Dave won the race and I run second. So really, I think you were lucky that I was happy about that.
Well, no, I think Dave was lucky. Dave was lucky you were happy.
Dave was lucky, that's right.
It's just a great photo, and it's available. We often see it on Harness Racing New South Wales, the website. It got a good run on socials, and it's just a magnificent racing photo, albeit not a live action race shot. It's just the end of what had been a race day, and two very much in love people leaving the track, sharing a moment. I still think it's one of the best photographs I've seen in sport.
Jess is out there taking photos every Tuesday and Saturday.
Jess.
There's a challenge, Jess.
I think Jess gets sick of seeing me smile. I haven't even won the race, and I'm trying to get her to take a
As
photo.
soon as she's coming back into scale, it doesn't matter if she's first to fifth.
Lovely.
She's got a beautiful big smile on her face, and I love to see it. And she's always telling me, "Take my photo."
Yeah.
Well, love
How's
it.
that play out when you get the better of Dave? How's that play out at home? Did you realise I beat you today, Dave?
No, I'm a little bit more humble than that sometimes. Yeah, no, all the money comes to the same household, so we're happy for either of us can get over the line first.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us today, Steph. It's really good to have you on the show. Right, so this week we've got another big week in racing. It starts today at Menangle, Freddie. 12 races. How are you going to go? That's a lot of
I'll be
research.
I'll be looking. Yeah, it took a bit of time to do the form last night and yesterday afternoon. A few strepsils in the kit bag today, but no, it's always great racing. We often get a 12 race card around Breeders' Challenge time on the Tuesday. It's just part and parcel of what happens. The Trotters races were well patronised, so it just became a 12 race card. But the job is the job, and I look forward to it. We start
Just
early.
4 2-year-old Breeders' Challenge heats.
Yeah.
That should be exciting to see.
Yeah, and some quality horses go around, and one I'm really looking forward to seeing is Montalbano for Ricky Ouchen. We see him looking for 3 straight, and I think he's a really talented horse and one to keep an eye on throughout the series.
Well, we move on to Saturday night. We've got the Group 2 Trotters Cup. Should be a good race, that one, Freddie.
Yeah, always a good race. The Trotters Cup. It's a Group 2 race. Some of the horses we've come to see over the years compete, they're not there this year. Horses like Tough Monarch, Drop the Hammer, etc. But Caligula's I know he's one of your favourite horses. We learned all about an indie rock
Tears of
Mondo
cover
man.
it, Tears of a Clown.
So I was
Triple J
paying
Hottest
attention.
100.
Yeah. Where did it run? Number 87.
Oh, probably.
But yeah, no, it's always a good race. Look forward to it.
Yep. Heaven on High's back in action Saturday night. This is quickly become the people's horse on the back of this podcast. What can we expect from Heaven on High, do you think, this week?
Yeah, look, it's in terms of grade on ratings points, he's up in grade, but he did run third in a Group 2 carousel 2 weeks ago. He's drawn barrier 5, hoping for good things from the horse.
Steph, race 4, it's a pretty good race. We've got Captain Me for Jack Trainer, Silk Cloud. Flare Up was pretty good. I saw Flare Up win a good race at Tamworth. We've got good racing. No matter where you look, at Menangle in particular on Tuesday, Saturdays, this is good racing from here on, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We've got the top trainers and that train on this track, so they're going to race here, but also the prize money is drawing them in. So
Christmas here goes for about 6 months, I think.
It does. And there's another filly, Captain Me, Jack Trainer.
Yeah.
We talk about his affinity, the fillies and mare whisperer. There's another one that's going well.
Look, unfortunately, the weather pattern got Tamworth earlier in the week, so there's an extra race meeting's been added for tomorrow. Last week with the weather pattern there in Tamworth. So that's been added for tomorrow. So that's good news for the people up in that Hunter region in the northern. Wagga, they've got 2-year-old Breeders' Challenge heats at Wagga on Friday. Same at Newcastle Friday night for the 2-year-olds. So the Breeders' Challenge is really hotting up. And on that note, we've got a TV show that's going to be on Sky 2. It starts tomorrow night. So myself and Brittany Graham are going to be hosting that one. And it'll go for about 5 weeks, and we're going to go through the journey of the Breeders' Challenge, and we'll look back on what's happened so far in this series. I find the Breeders' Challenge a really fascinating series because it takes in the regions and ultimately ends up being this big grand semi-finals and grand finals, and there's a few extra speed incentives that go into this year's series that have been added in. So that starts tomorrow night, 7 p.m. on Sky 2. So I'm looking forward to that. Should be good.
We'll be tuned in.
Carnival Cups on Monday at Yagara, as I've mentioned too. So it is a really, really big week in racing. All right, Black Bookers. Jess, you've been thereabouts with your Black Bookers. Where are we going this week?
Yeah, I'm heading back to Newcastle yesterday, and we touched on this horse just earlier in the show. Beers in My Pocket. I thought he hit the line really strongly against Come Say Hi, so I think in coming weeks he should be one to keep an eye out for.
Your horse won last week, your Black Booker, Loyalist.
It did. It might have only paid $1.40, but I think you said the other week you can't go broke
You
backing
won't go
winners.
broke backing winners, absolutely.
There we go.
40% is better than bank interest last time I checked.
That's
100%.
right.
Yeah. Steph, you got anything for us?
I've Look, I always follow where you've been bopping, so I'd have to stick with him, even though I imagine he won't be paying much either, but can't go broke back in winners, right? Also, probably Port-au-Prince. I think he's a quality horse and one to follow.
Them's fighting words.
No argument, good horse. So for me, Paul, it's gliding away. This horse has come to the stable, the McDowell stable. It's had 17 starts for them, and it's been top 3 finish 17 times. Busting to win a couple more Saturday races. Ran second the other night, and I think gliding away is worth following.
Probably a couple of black bookers out of that where you've been bopping race too. Stingray Tara was so close, as you said. Malcolm's Rhythm, as you said before, Jeff, absolutely flew home and, may have a second wind after potentially we thought maybe that horse might have been tapering out a little bit. So, lots to look forward to. Really, really big week of racing ahead. As we said, like every week we're going to be saying that from now until the end of the carnival, really, and that then goes into Bathurst and goes into Wagga and goes into the regional championships. So, huge week ahead. To everyone out there who's logged in and watched the show live on the live stream on Facebook, thanks for tuning in. To everyone who's listening, no matter where you are, planes, trains, automobiles, please tell everyone, spread the word. Follow the show, because then you'll get the little notification will pop up on your phone saying that you've subscribed to the show, and you won't have to go looking for it. It'll just pop up, and the more that people tell everyone that we exist, or we like it, they like it, or they give us a nice review or whatever, it actually helps with making sure that harness racing becomes part of the broader conversation out there in the community. And that's ultimately what we want. We want to continue to grow the show, grow the sport, and this show can help do that. Steph, you got a couple of drives this afternoon? Yeah,
I've just got 2. I've just got a trotter for Leon and just a pacer for Scott Wade.
All right.
Yeah.
2 winners.
I'm sure they'll be paying big odds, but I don't.
Let's get
probably.
on.
Freddie, we better wrap up the show because you've got a massive day ahead of you, and obviously an early start today with with the 12 races on the card. So
11:45 local time we kick off, and a few little commitments to take care of for our radio side of the business. So I will skedaddle once we wrap this up. But thanks for joining us today, Steph. I hope you had a bit of fun.
Yeah, no, it was great. Thanks for having me, and hopefully I wasn't too nervous.
No, you're good. And Jess, when Freddie's calling, you're taking photos down there on the track, and you're doing the media work here at Menangle. What am I doing? It's a good question. You're not the only one who asked that, I think. So to everyone out there who's tuned in, thanks for being with us today, and we'll catch you again next week. Bye-bye.